The secret side of me, I never let you see. I keep it caged, but I can't control it. So stay away from me, the beast is ugly. I feel the rage and I just can't hold it. It's scratching on the walls, in the closet, in the halls. It comes awake and I can't control it. Hiding under the bed, in my body, in my head. Why won't somebody come and save me from this? Make it end. I feel it deep within. It's just
Hello, Silent Hill fans. It's your host for the most, Benjamin Detail, coming back with another exciting episode of the Horror Heathen YouTube channel and the South Jersey Horror Podcast. Today, I'm sitting down with Mr. Robert Strange, who plays the Red Pyramid and Return to Silent Hill. That came out this year, and this is round 2 for us.
Second attempt.
So, little quick tidbit. Return to Silent Hill is the latest version of the hit horror compendium, and we will see the famed monster Red Pyramid Head. Basically, makes a huge return to the movie, which I'm very happy to see because Pyramid Head is a very iconic monster, and we know just not just for the movies but also in the games. A fearful monster, in my opinion. So, anyway, there's some cool tweaks and twists to this movie, and we're going to talk to my guest today. Please give a very, very warm welcome to my talented friend, Robert Strange. Thank you so much for joining me, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Second attempt, as you mentioned. We did try and record this before, and I was in the dressing room of a play that I was working on, and they kept doing an announcement on the loudspeakers, so we had to try again.
All good, all good. I'm a very patient man, so you'll see that.
Good. So it's well.
So to get things started, we'll start the usual. If you could please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you inspired to audition for the role of the Red Pyramid.
Well, so yeah, my name is Robert Strange. I am an actor and a creature performer. I've been doing it for about 15 years professionally now, but I've been acting since I was tiny. Basically, I came out as a show off. So I have been like doing school plays and putting on plays for family and things since I was tiny. And yeah, I studied biochemistry at uni, but then I went to drama school and then kind of fell into this world of playing lots of creatures and monsters, which I never particularly intended to, but I found my niche, some might say calling, and have made it my kind of brand, I suppose. Although I do also, for anyone out there listening, play human beings sometimes. I can speak and show my own face if you would like, but people don't tend to want to. So yeah, I've played all sorts of creatures and characters, some of which I'm sure we'll talk about across a lot of different galaxies and lands and franchises. And that path led me to play Pyramid Head in Silent Hill. So to answer your second question, I must admit I didn't actually audition for the role. I was offered the role, primarily because I've worked a lot with Millennium FX, who made all the creature effects in the movie. And they reached out and said, hey, we've got a very cool role in a very cool horror story, and wondered if you'd be interested. And I love working with Millennium, so I said, yes, I am interested. And then the rest is history. It turned out to be Pyramid Head. I found out when I got there, because it was all very hush-hush, but when I got there, I signed all the NDAs, and then they showed me what it was. And I had this inkling, I don't know how, I don't know if they'd given me a clue or if I just kind of had this feeling. And then, yeah, we put the pyramid on, and the rest is history, as I say.
Very, very cool. So I revisited the TV show Penny Dreadful today. I had a chance to watch it work, and I noticed that you're in the cast as well for that.
I am, under a different name, you might have clocked. I changed my stage name a few years back. I used to go under Robert Nairn. Now I go by Robert Strange, which is still a family name. It's my mum's name. But I always wanted to be Robert Strange. I actually, when I was at drama school, when I was at university, I did a play at a place called the Actors Church in London. And most people will know Covent Garden in London, very famous tourist spot. And there's a huge church, one side of it. It's like one whole side of Covent Garden is a big church. I can't remember its official name, but it's colloquially called the Actors Church because I think a lot of actors had connections to it and a lot are buried there. And I once at university did a touring production of Midsummer Night's Dream, and I was performing in the Actors Church, and I looked over and one of the plaques on the wall says Robert Strange. And as I say, it's my mum's name. It's a family name. So I saw it as a sign because I was hoping to go to drama school at that point. And I always wanted to be Robert Strange as an actor. I then, for various reasons that I won't go into, I didn't use it, and I used my own name, which it's a wonderful name. I'm still very proud of that name. But then a few years later, I'd done a load of the creatures and the monsters, and I thought, oh, I wish I'd been Robert Strange. And then a few years later, someone very close to me convinced me to do it, and they said, "What's the worst that could happen?" So I changed my stage name. And it's one of those things I talked myself out of it because I thought I've done work under one name and it'll confuse people and but obviously it was absolutely fine. And if anything, it really has suited the career I've carved for myself quite well. So anyway, Penny Dreadful, I was a different person then. That was my first ever job, pretty much. It was my first filming job, definitely, ever. And it was my first creature job. It's what started it all off. I've said in a few interviews what that was like. There basically was a call out for someone 6'5" and very skinny with stunt experience, which I said I had, and I absolutely didn't. But you do what you need to get the job. And I went and did a workshop playing a vampire because the character, if people haven't seen Penny Dreadful, is this very like monstrous, snarling vampire. And yeah, did the workshop, was as kind of depraved and unhinged as I could be. It obviously struck a chord, and I got that part, and then spent 6 months on season 1. Completely naked, basically. I was just painted with some little silicone shorts on. They shaved my head. I was completely bald. I had the whole shebang, 7 hours of prosthetics, and spent 6 months in very, very cold Ireland screaming in Timothy Dalton and Eva Green and Josh Hartnett's face. It was a lot of fun.
I just thought it was super cool to see you because I started watching the first episode, and I see you stand up. I was like, holy shit, that's Robert Strange.
You recognize me from that?
I did, yeah.
Very
I
impressive.
mean, it's like I tend to analyze things, to overanalyze things, and seeing your previous work, I recognize how you like had just the way you stood up, and like the demeanor and delivered your nose kind of gave it away too. So
I mean, you can, I think, although I had lots of prosthetics on, my face is still very much my face shape, like it didn't change it much. And although I have no hair, I guess that was the biggest change. The shape of my face was I mean, I had like cheeks and a forehead on, but it was quite similar to me. Yeah, good memories of that job.
it was super cool. Yeah, moving on. I digress. So,
Hmm.
um, so in your own words, could you describe who the who Pyramid Head is? But what's his sole purpose in this movie?
Hmm. Pyramid Head means a lot of things to a lot of people, but he represents James's kind of worst qualities, his worst fears. You can extend it out to say he represents the worst fears in all of us and all of our potential for malign acts or thoughts. I know the film and the game have points where they converge and points where they diverge, but James as a character is quite complex and quite layered, as we all are, and he has this side to him that he wants to run from, feels extremely guilty about, and it leads to obviously the events of the story. Pyramid Head represents everything that he's trying to run away from. So he, for those who don't know the story before, when you're watching it, you think he's the kind of big boss villain who's trying to get James, but obviously slowly as it unravels, and depending on your interpretation, you realize that he is James. So that's why he's running from him, and he's not. Pyramid Head isn't out for James in that sense, in that classic kind of Mike Myers sense. I say that because he's right behind you. Yeah, so that's Pyramid Head. That is quite a symbolic, figurative interpretation. You can't really play that when you're like playing a role. Like you can't go into it saying, I'm going to play someone's kind of worst malign thoughts and actions. So, that's what he represents. But again, that's just my take on it. And like what he represents to different people is very varied. And I love people coming up to me or writing to me and telling me what the character means to them, because he does mean a whole lot to a whole lot of people. And it's really wonderful to see, and credit to the story that was created in the game, the layers and the nuance to it, and the things that he's inspired, they're spun off, and the art and the creations and the cosplays and things. Playing the role, I had my own things in my head, some of which is fun to share, some of which is fun to kind of keep to myself. But yeah, I wanted him to be physically just incredibly imposing, threatening, always there. Like there's not actually that much screen time with Pyramid Head, but I wanted the idea of him to be always kind of present because again, that's what I think he represents.
So, in a sense, if you had your own guilty conscience, what do you think it would look like besides Pyramid Head?
Great question. I think it would be, yeah, interesting. My instinct, I'll go with my gut response to that, is that it wouldn't be anywhere near as like solid and mighty as Pyramid Head. I feel like it would be some kind of scrappy, squawmy thing. I've got like a picture in my head that's a bit like the Wheelers from Return to Oz, which always really. Have you seen that?
No, believe it or not, I have not.
You have to see Return to Oz if you're a horror fan. I know it doesn't sound like it's going to be horror, but it is. And I'm sure people out there will relate to this. Return to Oz is one of the most traumatized I've ever been watching film. I don't know how old I was, but quite young. And obviously, The Wizard of Oz is, it has dark themes to it, but it's quite tame. Return to Oz, you go in as a kid in the 90s, thinking it's going to be that, and it is not that. It is terrifying. It involves like a queen who can take her head off and replace it with other heads, and these things called the Wheelers, who are these kind of men with wheels for arms and legs on their arms and on their hands and feet, and they kind of scream and shriek and chase little Dorothy. I think she gets like sectioned or lobotomized or something in that one. It's like quite dark. Anyway, I digress. The Wheelers.
I'm gonna write that down real quick so I can keep that in my thoughts.
It's really good. In fact, I want to watch it again now. I'm kind of older, but like, it's one. When you watch a film and it just like sears itself onto your brain as a child because you're so it's so formative in whatever way. And you maybe watch it. We all have something like this in various degrees. Something you probably watched a year or two too early, or it just gets to you in some way. And there's something about that film that I obviously just like struck a chord when I was little. But I love it again because it's got like the most amazing character design of practical effects and yeah. If I'm ever in a like museum and there's loads of like trinkets around, I always think of the scene at the end with the green items, which will make sense when you see it.
I'm gonna check that out. I'm probably on nightmares, but I'll check it out anyway. So,
Yeah, probably more than like all the horror films that you watch, it'll get to you in some way. Let me know.
while playing before you started filming Return to Silent Hill, did you do any research on your character at all, or just jump right into it?
No, definitely did loads of research because I really want to with stuff like this. It's priceless. This kind of character, this kind of IP, because you can't put a price on how much it means to people clearly. And I've learned means far more than I ever realized doing my research, and I knew it meant a lot because I'd heard of it. I'd never played the games because I was way too afraid when I was younger. I love horror. Terrible with horror games. I'll watch someone else play them. It's something about like the being chased thing. Can't do it. But anyway, I watched Christoph's first film. I watched the other film. But mostly I watched footage of the game, and I really dove deep into the comments and the Reddits to read what people wrote. And I went and looked up the original like sketches and the kind of quotes from the original designers and the creators of the game. And yeah, I just kind of read everything I could about not just Pyramid Head, but the world of Silent Hill, like why he created it, why it has that distinct aesthetic, that style. Because I just wanted to like understand people's approach so that I can then have all that in the back of my mind and then like drop it and do my thing. Do you know what I mean? But it like colors everything you do, hopefully, rather than just going into it and being like, well, I'm doing it like this, which I'm sure is a valid approach, and maybe actually on the screen it would read exactly the same way, but that's just the way I wanted to approach something like this, where it already has such a legacy behind it.
Understood. So, what makes this one different than the other ones?
This film or this character?
No, no, your character. What makes your character, your Pyramid Head, different from the other ones in comparison?
Well, because it's got me in it. I mean, I'm being flippant, but like really, like in a way, Roberto's pyramid head in the other two films is so specific to him because he's in it and he brings all of his movement and all of his experience and all of his research, and I bring the same to mine. So yeah, I guess I with different characters I play and different creatures and humans and monsters, I have different amounts of like story and preparation physically and emotionally and stuff that I bring to it. And I think a lot of that is either private or not interesting to other people. But yeah, I just brought my own little like flavor to it, I think. And then on top of that, Christoph and the designers like gave him his new design for this film. Millennium did their concept art, do the incredible fabricators and makers make this suit with their design. So again, I've said this in many interviews, but like one of the most enjoyable things about creature stuff to me is how collaborative it is. And as I am the end of this line of people that go from concept artists to like the people who build the suits and put it on me, they all have a part to play, a cog in the machine of like making this final character. And of course that applies to any character in any film or piece of art, but with creatures particularly so because they're so visual and so engineered. And so I love that process of like appreciating all the little bits and all the brains and all the hours and all the labor and stitches and glue that have gone into it. And then I have to like bring it to life in a way that doesn't look like a pile of rubber, hopefully.
So describe the detail in your character. Can you describe what the costume and makeup process was like? Was it long? Was it short? Was it
relative to other ones I've done, it was a breeze because it was mostly a suit that I put on. So essentially I put on some extremely silky tights because the legs were very tight, so we needed to help slide into them. So I had some like silky stockings on, and if you dig deep on my Instagram, you'll find a video of me putting the stockings on. That's why I mentioned them. Then there was a pair of legs, which were a foam rubber, or everything was foam rubber because prosthetic stuff can either be foam rubber or silicone, basically. I mean, there's other options, but those are the main ones nowadays. And this is foam rubber because it's much, much lighter. For doing body stuff, you would never have it in silicone because you'd be crawling along the floor. Well, you can, but it would be very heavy. So I had these foam rubber legs, which were the skin of the legs, but then also even the sandals I'm wearing, because he's wearing kind of these great Jesus sandals, which is one of the like little tweaks that was different for this film. They were sculpted into the foam rubber legs that I pulled on. So he had these horrible like gnarly toes, and there's so much detail on it that you can't see in the film, obviously, but that's the beauty of it. So you pull the legs on, and then I think they attach to kind of suspenders so they don't sag and fall down. And then I had the whole torso was just like a giant foam rubber suit that you put on. So it was literally, I'd have to like dive my head and arms into it. And I had about 3 people, Lauren, Morgan, and Georgia, who were my amazing people from Millennium, the costume and makeup people who were with me and helping me put this all on. They helped me ease into it with a load of talcum powder to just kind of scoot into it. Pretty skin tight, and it's quite chunky because obviously it was a lot of muscle, and then all the like sculpting of the knots and the hooks from the helmet that are like clawing into the flesh, and I think sculpted into it with all the bandages and things as well. And then I have the kind of layers of skirts which wrap around, which are the amazing kind of like butcher's like skirts, all bloodstained and things. And then gloves, which were some foam rubber gloves, which again, I was obsessed with the gloves. Georgia had painted them, and they were made to kind of look like gloves, but at the same time, they looked like flesh. It was kind of unclear whether they're actually part of his skin or actually gloves, because they have like stitching in, but they look like this angry reddish flesh as well. And then the helmet is just one big piece that just slots on. Again, if you look on my Instagram, you'll see the kind of under helmet I wore, which was a block, and like a piece of Lego, you just click it into place. So again, usually for suits, someone else has to like, well, you either have to have it on all day, or it takes ages to put the head on and off, so you have to leave it on a lot. But this one, between takes, you could just have a breather.
But I can imagine a lot of Tylenol bottles on set just because you wear that all day.
Yeah, it was. But as I say, like really with the helmet off, I mean, this stuff is hot because you're in like rubber, but it was pretty comfy, to be honest. Like compared to other stuff where you can't really sit or see or breathe or use the bathroom, this was a breeze.
So no physical challenges whatsoever, just easy peasy.
Well, I wouldn't say that, not none, but like relative to others, it was easy. It was the swords were hard. So I have these incredible swords. Again, one of the other little tweaks is that the sword was kind of carved from stone. It kind of, again, it's people's own interpretation if they look in the details. I think when you combine that with the sandals and the wraps and the bandages and the hooks and things, it had quite a kind of, what's the word? I don't want to like guide people's thoughts too much, but it had quite a kind of religious air to it, I would say, which I thought was a beautiful design addition that wasn't heavy-handed, but it was a nice extra interpretation. As ever, I'm sure I'm being very diplomatic here. Some people are going to love changes, some people are going to hate changes because it's not what they want or what they envisage. Both are fine. There's space for everything. It's just, it's an adaptation at the end of the day. But yeah, the sword was this incredible design to look like it was carved out of stone, and they were just unwieldy. I did have ones that were a light foam, but then I want to make it look as heavy as possible. So I would ask for the heaviest one, which was, there was no actual stone sword, sadly, but there were some very, very heavy ones, so that when you're dragging it, it looks heavy. But then you're dragging a heavy sword around. And then I had to do a lot of like swinging the scene with the Spider Woman. I had to like swing the sword around. So it was a lot of, and not like smack my helmet off my head. So it was a lot of shoulder work and dexterity.
Were there any bloopers on set while like doing any sequences at all?
Oh, I'm sure there are many. I would love to see the blooper reel. Because again, it's so funny with creatures. You're often this like, creatures are, even when they're kind of animalistic, animals aren't like clumsy often. Do you know what I mean? Or monsters. So they're always either extremely, they kind of know more than anyone else, physically even, or they're just so animalistic and animals just have this like natural ease to them, even when they're like horrible bestial things, because they're animals. And so being on set's funny when you're playing them because you're trying to be this thing which is so poised or so like in the moment of itself, and then you'll do something like knock the helmet so it goes skew-if and immediately looks like some slapstick or something like that, or you'll like trip over or whatever it might happen to be. So I'm sure there are plenty of gag reel moments.
Yeah, lots of whoopsies. So
Yes, yeah. I would love a gag reel. That'd be great fun.
so off topic real quick, you also portrayed Jack in Jack in the Box, which is a really good movie. Loved it. I mean, it's not like your typical horror movie that you see every day. It's a very unique movie and it scared the shit out of me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. So,
Great.
and you've also played in a plethora of other horror movies. So, what draws you to the genre?
I've always loved horror. What drew me to it? I'm trying to like quickly trace it back in my mind. I mean, I always loved reading as a kid books that weren't horror, I suppose, but they were like fantasy, and they always had an odd element to them. I'm just compelled to mention this book that was my favorite as a kid. It's called Ellis and the Hummock. I've never met anyone who's ever known it or read it. Whoa. Dark. They're listening. But it was this really fantastical story, and I just was obsessed with it. Not horror per se, but I suppose it like what becomes horror maybe when you're young. And then I've always watched horror films with my mum. We have a real thing where we'll like find the creepiest films. It's usually like very psychological horror, things with a twist, and then yeah, I just like kept it up. I love it. I love the extremes of it. I love the practical effects. I love considering what it all represents. I like things that are like not spelled out for you too much, Sorry, this lamp is having a mind of its own. Yeah, and it just so happens that that's the way my career has gone, I suppose, playing those kind of roles. So it suits me well.
So, what is your favorite horror movie of all time?
I'm going to say, I wonder if people will find this controversial when you say horror, but 2001: A Space Odyssey.
It kind of falls under it. Yeah, it
It's like
does.
cosmic
So
horror, and cosmic horror is there's something about cosmic horror that I mean, it's kind of what it is, but it's like so deeply unsettling on another level. I think things that are like massively outside of human understanding. I just love that as a concept. So like Lovecraft, anything Lovecraftian, it's right up my street in terms of like stories. And 2001: Space Odyssey, I actually saw it relatively recently, much later than I would care to admit in my film viewing history. And when I saw it, I was like, "How?" It's just one of the, we all have a film, a classic film that you're like, the years go by and you're something like, God, I still haven't seen that, and everyone else has seen it, so you don't have anyone to watch it with. Yeah, so I saw it not that long ago, and I was just blown away, blown away. It's like for its time, which I hate that phrase, but like just so incredible, like practically, and just the idea of it, and then yeah, there's just it's so unsettling on so many levels, and I love it, and I quite like absurdism, and you don't get much absurdity in movies anymore. Like Yorgos Lanthimos does it very well, but there's an element of like absurdity to it that's like funny, but also actually really quite unsettling. So, I mean, obviously the whole opening with the chimps is bonkers. so, yeah, I love it. That's great. That's one of my faves.
well, H.P. Lovecraft is a mastermind, in my opinion. And the movie Suitable Flesh is really good. It has a Lovecraftian essence to it.
I
So
don't know that. What's it called?
Suitable Flesh.
Great. Okay, I'll put that on my
It's
list.
got Heather Graham, Barbara Crampton in it, a
Mm.
couple of people. It has a Lovecraft touch to it, so it's really good, and lots of sexual intercourse. so,
Right. Got it.
so there's that. I mean, but you can't have a horror movie without sexual any kind of sexual scene in it. But anyway, just goes
Well,
hand
you
in hand
can,
sometimes.
but yeah, I know what you mean. It's like a classic part of a lot of horror stories, isn't it? Do you know I'm going to do a shout out to another film that I talk about all the time, which is called Triangle. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. Yes,
So that bits and pieces. What do you mean? You need to watch the whole thing or none
I
of it
yeah
because it will spoil
I
it.
get distracted easily when it comes to.
But that's the other thing that like I've just got this personal thing. I don't know where it comes from about like the concept of being stuck in a loop, like Groundhog Day style, or any kind of like temporal loops. There's something about it that like chills me to the bone, and that's without giving anything away. It's such a good film for that. It's just I just you again Sixth Sense moment where we all have these films where you remember the first time you watch it and the denouement happens and you're like oh, and I've never forgotten it. And I just think the story is very clever. It's very simple and didn't see it coming. And yeah, great film. Need to see that again as well.
Gotcha. So returning back to Return to Silent Hill, um, what do you hope audiences will connect with about this movie?
So again,
So what do you hope audiences connect with about this film?
I I think what's special about Silent Hill as a franchise, as a world, not just this film or this story even, is what it allows people to interpret from it, what allows people to take from it. Um, and I just think it's got a very specific feel. And again, some people look, I'm aware what people have said about the film. So like some people think this film has achieved it, some people don't. And that's fine. Everyone is allowed their opinion. It's one person's interpretation of the world. I think I'm in a lot of adaptations in my work, and I think my opinion is that adaptations are adaptations, and if they're not for you, then that's fine. But it is at the end of the day, it's not the thing. It's someone's interpretation of the thing, and it's never going to please everyone. So yeah, I hope they take, I hope they see themselves in things. The hardest thing to do with horror sometimes, or with bad people characters, is to allow yourself to see yourself in these people. And I think Silent Hill allows that, and it's a difficult thing to face maybe, but and then also just like having a good time, having fun, having a like romp with monsters and running around and like creatures and amazing sets and fun costumes and great performances. It's entertainment at the end of the day.
Exactly. I feel the same way. It's just like you said, there's a lot of adaptations for this film, but I always go in with an open mind. So,
Mm.
I mean, if I do like it, I do like it. If I don't, I don't. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince people not to watch it. So, like I say, go with open mind. If you don't like it, you don't like it. It's just it's what it is what it is. But I enjoyed the movie very much. I thought it was visually stunning. The acting was phenomenal. The dialogue was not boring. So it was, it was really good. It was definitely a different pace for the other movies. But like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it very much because I think it explains more about the characters than it does with the original films. So that's just what I got from the movie. And shit, I would hate to run into Pyramid Head in a dark alley because you scared the hell out of me. So,
Wow, good. Then I did my job. Do you know what I would have loved, just for the absurdism of it, is the game has the all the different endings originally, which I learned from I watched all the endings from on YouTube, and just because I mentioned my absurdism, my taste for absurdism, that would have been very fun if we'd ended with the like it just really taken a sharp hairpin turn and it ended with the aliens or the dog. That would have been fun.
but you, sir, you were given the role of Pyramid Head, and you delivered. That's all I'm going to say. You did
Thank you very
phenomenal.
much.
And like I said, I throw it two thumbs up with the film. I give it 5 out of 5. Even though a lot of people didn't like it, they can kiss my ass because I enjoyed it very much. So,
Your words, your words.
so um, what's next for you? Anything exciting coming up you want to share?
Yeah, so I'm working on a film at the moment, which is very exciting, which is called Ebenezer, A Christmas Carol. It's another adaptation of A Christmas Carol, which Ty West is directing, who horror fans might know that name. He did the trilogy of X and Pearl and Maxine. So he's doing something quite different with this, which is this kind of Dickensian classic Christmas. Again, a horror story, a ghost story. So that's very fun, playing one of the ghosts in that, alongside Johnny Depp, who's playing Scrooge. And then, well, so I'm filming that, so that should be out at Christmas. But in April, I've got a film coming out where I play a human being, no monsters in sight, which is very exciting. It's called Medora, Empress of the Badlands, and it's a biopic about this chap, the Marquis de Merez, and his wife Medora. And basically, in 1880s North Dakota, he moved to the middle of nowhere. He wanted to make his fortune from cattle, and he built a ranch and a slaughterhouse, and he made a lot of money very fast. And then basically angered the local kind of cowboys and lost all his money. And it's an amazing story of this little piece of history that's so rich with details because it was 1880s America and these incredible characters and this kind of fusion of worlds of the cowboys and then the developing Western capitalist world, like invading these spaces where they hadn't been before. And he was this fascinating, really ambitious man. So he was a lot of fun to play. I did a French accent. I had a big curly mustache. I rode a lot of horses and fired guns, which I'd never done before, and sword fights and things like that. So it was a lot of fun. That should be out in April onwards.
Very cool. I'll be keeping an eye out for that because I like you, sir, as an actor, and I also love Johnny Depp. So it should be a very interesting movie to watch.
Awesome. Thank you.
See, like his little fingers. I can't. If he's gonna do it, Ebenezer Scrooge, I'm gonna do that or not. He makes a little Jack Sparrow in it. I don't know. We'll see.
Uh, I actually do all the finger acting in Ebenezer. You'll have to see. I can't tell you any
Absolutely, I
more
would
than that.
definitely keep an eye off that. I would definitely recommend my friends watch too, because my wife loves Christmas movies, and I'm sure she'll love it. So,
Great. I think Ty West is obviously like he's a visionary director, and it's great fun to have a real classic, like I say, Victorian Dickensian ghost story that everyone knows, and then see his twist on it. And it is a creepy story when you read the book. It's you can really see that people at the time reading it would have been quite creeped by it on many levels, like on a moral, ethical level, but also on the ghosts and ghouls and things. So it's good fun. And a ghost story at Christmas is perfect. They go together well.
hell yeah, it does. So that's all the time we have. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining me all the way across the pond, and I appreciate you staying up late tonight. And I wish
Pleasure.
you the best of luck with your career, sir, and your future endeavors. And I will definitely see you on the big screen again.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to chat.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the wonderful, the talented Robert Strange goes to Return of Silent Hill, and he is much scarier than the zombie nurse, whatever the hell she is. Anyways, you, sir, have a good evening, and I'll see you around.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Thank you.